Welcome to the Cycles of Radiance podcast, a weekly conversation tailored for Gen X Black women and women of color who balance faith, family, friendship, career, and love. Through storytelling and laughter, we embrace the triumphs, challenges, and aspirations experienced by women of color. Your hosts, Joanna Kemper, Dana Middleton, and Stacey Givens, are faith-filled entrepreneurial women who are redefining success on our journey towards well-being. Find us on Instagram at Cycles of Radiance.
No, that's fair.
Welcome to another episode and discussion on Cycles of Radiance. My friends Stacey, Dana, and I were already in conversation, so I thought it'd be good to press record and capture it because we came in here with the mindset of, let's talk about uplifting. But then not all of us are in that space of, I want to just be 100% uplifted. In reality, we're riding this tension between the frustrations and the stress of life, but then also trying to keep our gaze upwards, onward. And we're in that tension. We're trying to navigate there. And we're trying to move more towards keeping our gaze upwards and onward versus really giving life to the frustration and stresses of life. But we all know that we cannot keep our gaze upwards and onward if we don't acknowledge the stress and the fear and the frustrations that we're dealing with. So how do we actually do both and come out in a good space to actually move forward? So we were in that midst of that conversation. Dana had opened up a little bit of kind of where she's at, and then Stacey was sharing about the book that she was reading, which is The Garden Within by Dr. Anita Phillips. Highly recommend. It's an amazing book. It's an amazing book. And she was sharing some insights on that as to how we, start tackling some of these emotions, frankly, is what it is. And to tackle the emotions, we kind of need to understand a little bit, peel it back as to what's causing these emotions. Because we have to acknowledge it. Even when you go meet with a therapist, it's like, okay, well, what's the current state? Let's talk about the current state. Let's acknowledge it. And now we can navigate forward. But we need that baseline so we're navigating forward from a place of transparency, not just externally, but with ourselves. And then also coming up with the right solutions or paths for us. Because otherwise we're trying to solve the wrong thing because we haven't really acknowledged what's there. So I just wanted to set up the framework as to what we were talking about so then we can capture the robust dialogue. Because it's always juicy. And there's always some good stuff that comes out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, an excellent job pulling all that together, because that's exactly what we were talking about. It just like you were saying, it was very much the intention. We talked about this last night. We've had a couple deep conversations our last few sessions, and everybody was just kind of feeling like, let's do something uplifting. Let's finish this week out on a high. And 100% here for it, right? But coming in today, it's like, I'm here for the up. Let's do the up, but I don't have shit to say. So, I'm just not finding the words today to bring the up, But at the same time, I'm not wanting to spend the day focusing on. I spent yesterday focusing on challenges. That's not how I like to live, and my husband will make fun of me about it. Y'all, thug stripes all day. What we're not going to do is get all emotional and sensitive about it, which I'm sure we could dig deep into that too. Like, what is that about? But it is like, okay, there's this thing here that it's weighing on me, but I'm ready to move forward. So Stacey, in her own special way, you were absolutely right in delicately, actually, this time saying, okay, Dana,
Actually, this time. Okay.
This time.
in saying, okay, no, I hear you. And what I love is the fact that you were just not going to say anything. You were just going to sit there with the Stacy face going, okay, if that's what you want to do, okay, now let's come on
Mm,
with it, pull it
mhm.
out. But you were right. You're right. There's got to be an exercise that says, no, we're not going to just bury it. We're not going to just push it aside. But let's move through it. Let's address what it is so you can fully be present and experience the good that you're trying to experience. So talk a little bit about what some of those things are, that you've been doing to acknowledge and address some of those challenges you experience.
The first thing I've been doing has been getting back to journaling. That has been that's always been a tool for me, and then I walked away from it. And I went through this whole session with a she's more than a facilitator. I can't just say facilitator. She's more than that. So shout out to Linda Jones for her sessions. They are
Hey.
called Rebirth, and it is a digging into grief. It is a digging into emotion. It is a digging into what's going on with you, Stacy, that has you in the place you're in. I went through that last year. Y'all know there was a lot going on in my family at the time, and I needed to go through that session. It was 6 weeks of basically a writing intensive, and it's you writing to you. And it's you addressing some things. It's you writing letters about your anger. Who are you angry with, and why are you angry with them? And then writing a letter of forgiveness to this person. It was deep. I was like, wow,
You
deep.
lose all your thug stripes in that exercise.
I sure did. Sure
No,
did.
real life.
Over 6 weeks, plus the family stuff that I was dealing with. And it was just cathartic. And so she has since started another journaling session. So Monday mornings at 8:00, we get on Zoom and we journal. And there's no conversation. It's you again with your thoughts. And I have found it to be very cathartic is the only word that I have. Starting in one place, thinking that I'm going to talk about one thing as I'm journaling, and finding my thoughts took me someplace completely different. She started out with, she gives you prompts, right? So the prompt was about gratitude, and I couldn't get there. I just couldn't. Gratitude should be the easiest thing, right? But it was like calculus. And I was trying to get there, and I couldn't. And so I found myself writing about tasks and having a mountain of action items and tasks and boxes that needed to be checked and lines that need to be drawn through things and follow up on this and call this person back. And it was
The rudimentary method.
Rudimentary.
y'all, checking boxes like literally on a sheet of paper. And then it was my mind drifted to my 5-year-old self in kindergarten. And I said, how the hell did this happen? And I'm writing all this stuff down, and I found myself writing about being very driven. Like there were these little books to be read, right? And I've always been a reader. I was a reader in kindergarten, and I wanted to get through those books. Like there was a whole stack. There were these little bitty yellow books. They were very thin, and the words were very simple. And I found myself looking back at my 5-year-old self, trying to get to the next book. Like I wasn't satisfied with being on book 1 or book 15 or book 30. I wanted to get to book 80. And I thought, oh my God, I've been like this my whole life. Like very driven to get to the next level. And it brought me to just a place of tears. I was like, this is just who I am. I'm a 5-year-old. I'm seeing in my mind's eye a 5-year-old child reading to an older student who was probably like a 6th grader. And just getting through these books. Like I wanted to get to the next one. I'm on book 80 now. I'm on book 100 now. Like I can count and I can read. So I'm dangerous at 5.
Right.
But I could see how that little person was very, very driven for the next thing. There wasn't just a satisfaction of just being, and okay, I read this one and then that's it. Then my mind went to nap time and how
Mm,
I could not rest. And granted, it's hard for kids to lay down, right?
yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't do it. Like
Mm.
we all had these towels. Well, that's another story. I had a floaty, a swim floaty. What, Stacey? Why you got a swim floaty? There's no room in this classroom for this big ass swim floaty. Just please please
She's
just
like, I
bring the
need more
towel.
cushion for this
Okay,
nap. Okay, I can't just have a towel.
okay, yes. And I could see it. I could see my teacher looking at me like, what is this?
It's like your version of an air mattress.
Exactly.
Right,
Right
right.
at five.
But it makes sense, doesn't
At
it? Like, can't you see
Yeah,
this?
I
It
totally
makes
can.
sense.
I
Yeah.
totally can.
yes, there's no other child with one in the room but me. Everyone
Yeah.
else just has a towel, but Stacey has a swim floaty.
Yeah.
That whole mattress thingy at the end of it. Anyway. So
I
anyway,
can
the
totally see
next day
this.
I got it
Yeah.
together and I had just a blue towel, and I can remember the struggle to just lay down and rest. And so that took me to a place like, damn, at 5 you struggle to lay down and rest. And here you are 40 years plus later and you still struggle to lay down and rest. And so
Mm.
when I tell you that journaling is very cathartic to pull that stuff out of you that's sitting inside, it's festering. There was something that I saw. It was a reel, and it was about hair. And this woman is showing the ends of somebody's hair, and she says something to the effect of like, "Can we normalize?" That word needs to just be thrown in the
Can,
fire and burned up.
can
But
we?
anyway,
Yeah.
it was something to the effect of, "Can we normalize?" Uh, allowing women to cut their hair when they feel like they want to cut their hair, something to that effect. And the woman who's showing you the reel, she's a hairstylist, and so she's showing these dead ends that need to be cut off. And somebody else comments about, well, can we just let women just get there when they can, basically like let her when she's ready to release it. And I thought, this is problematic.
Mm.
This is problematic.
Very
And so,
metaphorical.
right? Because
Yeah.
other people were writing back, yeah, but when you hold on to these dead ends, they damage the rest of the hair shaft.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
And I thought, when we hold on to dead things damage the rest of what's healthy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so all of these things, right? Y'all know I'm on a writing journey right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really making me think about how we tend to hold on to stuff. You're holding on to it on the inside, emotions on the inside, and those are things, they're dead things that need to be released because they will kill the good things that are inside you. So
Mm.
that's where my mind has been. And so when we started
Mm.
this, and Dana was like, I ain't really got nothing for you today. I got it. And at the same time, my
Yeah.
thought was, whatever it is that's holding on to you, y'all know my phrase is release and catch.
Release and catch.
Release and catch.
Release and catch. So anyway, holding on to what's dead eventually will kill what's alive. So
Mm.
no more holding on.
Mm.
I
Mm.
do like the writing exercise
Yeah.
because I've heard it in the past where everything kind of goes back to your childhood. And I've heard these exercises of writing to your younger self, the child, or having a picture of you at a certain age as a kid and talking into that picture and apologizing, offering forgiveness. Like there's some kind of connection there because everything stems back to our childhood. And I just found it interesting that you're saying that the 5-year-old you was driven and couldn't rest because you were constantly moving on to
Yeah.
next. And it's like, how did you get there at 5 years old, right? Because, I mean, we're not discussing that here, but it's just like, how do we get there? Because then that carries on all the way through adulthood. And then we're sitting here struggling, trying to figure out, okay, how can I rest? There's nothing wrong with being driven and ambitious. It's just making sure that you're still able to rest and enjoy. Like I
Yes.
find
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're trying to move so fast to the next that we're not
Mm-hmm.
enjoying what we have right now.
Yes.
And it goes back to the not having an abundance, mindset, and you're constantly looking for
Mm-hmm.
next. You're just not satisfied with what's here. And sometimes what's here is great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Because then, I'm sure you've had this experience in your life where you're wanting next, right? And so you're not enjoying the present. And then you get to next and it's crummy. You're like, man, I should have just stayed where I was. It
Right.
was a lot
Right.
better,
Right.
So it's like we're missing out sometimes on the lessons, the abundance, the joy of the present because we're so busy trying to get to next. But
And
then
Hmm.
there's
at the same,
always,
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, I was
No,
just gonna say, and there's always a next. I mean, because the
yeah,
thing that's going on right now, I mean, even something as simple as us sitting here having this conversation, right?
hmm,
This was next a year ago,
yes,
right? And
yes,
so we can either choose to say, all right, let's enjoy this moment and what we've accomplished and where we are, or, okay, now what are we going to do? Now what are we going to do?
mm-hmm,
And I think that is really one of the causes, the reasons why we're so damn tired because
yes.
there's
Hmm.
never that moment. And Jay, you are huge on y'all go sit your asses down somewhere and take a
Just sit
nap
down, take a
because
nap.
me and mine, we just had some soup and I got the blankets and this is what's going down. You know, yeah. And
Jay be
that's
quick on taking a nap.
no, for real.
Quick on taking a nap. Her, another girlfriend of mine, they quick on it. Like when things get rough, her thing is, I went to go take a nap. And I'm like, how did you settle your mind to take
How
a
do you do?
nap?
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just the fact that folks can do that when life gets overwhelming, when things are uncertain, uncomfortable, whatever, and there it is, the rest day.
Yeah.
Shout out to Trisha Hersey.
Mm-hmm.
This laying down thing, and I think that's a discipline to
Yeah.
be able to do that and to calm your mind down so that you can rest. Like I told you, that 5-year-old couldn't do it. That baby was like, looking
Mm-hmm.
we
up,
got things
just
to do.
Got
okay.
things to
You know
do.
how you put a baby down and they pop their little heads up and they looking around, and you're like,
Yes,
I just
I'm
need
very
you to
well.
lay down,
I just need you to lay down and
and you just
sleep.
right, and you just keep patting
You'll
their little
feel
back, like,
better.
But that's the truth. That's the truth. But I always felt like, and I still do. I still do. I'm gonna
Yeah,
miss something
I'm gonna
if
miss
I
I'm
go.
gonna
something.
miss
That's
You
it.
something.
know, yeah.
That's
What?
it.
How is the world moving on? Well, I need to catch that moment. But in those moments of frustration, I do the same thing. And the reality is, you're staying up through this frustration thing when just go to sleep and wake up refreshed and with a new insight. And I can't never do it. I can't. You're better
I
off just
think
going
I
to
was always
sleep.
in denial to do it, and then since leaving corporate, like I think the past year, I'm like, let me just try
Got to
this.
sleep that off.
You got to sleep that off to detox, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think we acknowledge the power of rest enough
Mm-hmm.
as a healing power in itself. And
Mm-hmm.
so our bodies are exhausted because we are
Mm-hmm.
running all sorts of races. It's not just one. There's multiple races, and they're not relays. Like there's
Yeah.
nobody to hand the baton to. Like it's just you in this lane,
Nonstop in all of your roles. Keep
all of them.
going. Yeah.
Keep going, and nobody's gonna come to you and say, "Hey, go sit down. I'll take that baton for you for a little bit."
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. And so you're the one that has to say, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit down. And what I've noticed is when I do that, if it's really that important, it'll get done.
It'll get done.
It'll
And if
get
not,
done.
it'll
And
be there.
it'll be there. Or maybe it's an invitation to consider that it doesn't need to get done. Or at least it doesn't need to get done by you. Or it's not that critical.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, rest is delicious. It's
Well
just
put.
delicious. We don't do
Well
enough
put.
of it. We're
Mm.
constantly trying to run to the next and do the next and do all the things. And then we're wondering why we're tired.
Yeah.
Not just tired, but exhausted.
Exhausted. and you can recognize it, and you get a sprain, well, you need to go elevate that, right? You need to go sit down, do the rice thing, rest it. But it doesn't apply for spirit. It doesn't apply for emotions. It doesn't apply for your mind. Those things you just got to keep moving. But you can't hear. You can't hear when you keep moving.
And
So,
that's the lie that we have believed, is that we have to keep moving.
mhm.
And the sense of, if you're just treading water, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And I'm like, sometimes treading is just, that's what's keeping you afloat. That's what's keeping you from drowning, until you can find
Yeah.
the strength to keep on kicking. And I just don't think that there's we don't have an off switch. I don't have an off switch. And I've learned that about myself. And so starting my Monday early with just sitting with my thoughts has been I'm telling you, it's cathartic. It really sets things, it sets a different tone. And ultimately, I'd like to be doing it daily to help my day.
Mhm.
And I one of the things that is on her website is, she talks about honoring yourself.
Mm.
And that really spoke to me, honoring myself and the promises that I make to myself.
There you go.
Honoring what's important to Stacy. What does she need today? Because I can honor everybody else's request, and this is due, and I need this here, and did you do this, and have you followed up with this, and have you called this person, have you done this, and have you done that? And I'm like, I'm honoring everybody else's demand and request and trying to meet it, but what about my own?
Yeah.
And that for me has been an absolute focus area of honor yourself. We are told to honor
Yeah.
everybody else, y'all. We really are.
Yeah.
We're told honor our father and mother, honor this one, honor the flag, and honor this, that, and the third. Like, everything is
The
supposed to give
flag.
some.
That puts it in perspective. We come after the flag. Come on,
After
make
the
that
flag.
make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Putting hands over hearts, honoring all these other
All the
things.
things.
Right.
All
Instead
the
of, like,
peoples.
take a minute and honor yourself. What are the things what are the promises that you need to keep to you?
It's
And
honoring that relationship with yourself and building
yeah.
trust with yourself.
Mhm.
Because in the culture that we're in, we're being programmed to disconnect from ourselves so that we can keep up the pace that is, expected, right? And
Yeah.
so a
Yeah.
way to resist all of that is to reconnect with ourselves and figure out, what do I need today? How can I nurture myself? How can I nourish myself? What's going to make me feel good today or better?
Mhm.
And sometimes it is a nap, and sometimes it's a really delicious meal. Sometimes it's just staring out the window. But what is it that's going to nurture you, help you honor yourself? And I don't think we spend enough time with that. We're busy dealing with all the externals because it feels easier. But every time we're choosing the external, are we
The
denying
right
ourselves?
thing.
Are we ignoring
Many times,
ourselves in
yeah.
that process? Like, how can we merge both? How can we honor ourselves and take care of what's externally? It's very hard to take care of what's around us if we haven't nurtured ourselves. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I mean,
Oxygen mask.
yeah, but if you're trying to take care of people while you're exhausted, it doesn't come across as nurturing, loving care. It comes across as like obligation. Like,
Yes.
And who wants that? Who wants to be on the receiving end of that?
But
Nobody.
also, I don't even want to give like that. And I've
You don't even
done
want to.
that. I did that last night and felt bad about it. Like, but this is what I got.
This is all I got. And sometimes this is what it is, you know what I mean? But how can we incorporate a few more pauses so we can understand ourselves a little bit better and nourish ourselves a little bit more? Like, what's one thing that can just give you like 5 minutes of nourishment?
I think
Sometimes like let's
Stacey
just
hit it.
start there. We were
Yeah.
trying to start with like really big things and like impact and all that, and it's like you start right here, like just 5 minutes. What is it?
Yeah. Middle of the day, take a quick 5 minutes, write a note, say, this is how I feel right now, and keep it or tear it up and throw it away. But that
Mm-hmm.
moment of acknowledgement says, okay, this is how I'm going to move forward from this point. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah. Yeah. So thank you for not letting me ignore where I was this morning, Dr. Gibbons.
You're certainly welcome. And I'll write you a script.
Please. Thank you.
So that
Thank you very
just go and fill it at
much.
your local pharmacy. Yeah, we need these moments, y'all. We absolutely need
Yeah.
these moments. There's too many people pulling and tugging at us. We have the externals, then we have the internal. It's entirely too much. And
Mm-hmm.
Can't be too much.
yeah, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm trying to get to a place where when those emotions are rising up and all the stuff is starting to just crowd out any sense of gratitude, and I
Mm.
can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I can't even hardly spell the word gratitude, because all of the other stuff is encroaching. That's problematic. Like, I'm like, that can't be
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
there's something very wrong with that picture.
Truly.
And
Yeah.
so just trying to reset, and it's a daily thing, multiple times a day, where I'm like, find that moment of gratitude.
Well,
You're
and like you
Mm-hmm.
outside
said,
and you're going for a walk and you're getting some fresh air
yeah.
and whatever, you gotta push this stuff out, because it is going to kill what's alive in you.
Mm-hmm. And you said it. It's a discipline, and especially for, I mean, I know for all three of us, the practice of gratitude, in which I also feel like is an overused term, right?
Mm.
But let's just roll with it right now. Um, Typically comes very easily. But when it takes effort, that's an alarm. That's a flag that says, "Hold
Yep.
on, let's dig a minute so we can get back to that." So yeah, that discipline needs to happen on both sides.
It really does. And it takes kind of removing the expectations of
Hmm.
how people think you need to function and how you need to be. Um, because, of course, around us, everything is telling us to keep on moving at 100 miles a minute. It's frowned upon still for
Yeah,
people to take PTO, to rest, to meditate, to write, to take pleasure, to linger, to
more,
leisure.
more, more,
Everything is
more.
more, more, more. Even if you're
Hmm.
doing something that brings you that's leisure and you enjoy, people are like, "Oh, how can you monetize that? What can you do with
Right.
that?"
No, you're absolutely right.
And it's like,
You're
I just want
absolutely
to
right.
enjoy it. It's
Yeah,
just leisure.
you are absolutely
But
right.
we try to bring like all this capitalist
Yes.
mentality to stuff that doesn't
That
require it.
doesn't require it and shouldn't require it, right?
Shouldn't
Because
require it.
that's that balance. But in this whole, the house needs to be cleaner, the kids need to be smarter, the husband needs more attention. You got to bring in more money. You're not bringing in more money. The groceries, I mean, like everything is more, and you're
More.
trying to keep up with all of this, and at the same time go, I can't think, and then you wonder why you can't think clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because we've absorbed, right, all of the expectations into our
Mm-hmm.
psyche, into our spirit, into our body. And it takes time. I think it's just a lifetime effort to constantly resist, push it back, analyze it, and figure out, okay, what's a different way of being? Because
Mm-hmm.
this isn't working for any of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and our different way of being is gonna be different.
And that's
We're
okay.
and that's okay. Am I feeling okay? Am I good with it? Right? And that's what matters. What's my relationship with God, my creator? That's what matters. And that's what determines how I'm going to function and the lens that I'm going to use out here in these streets in this raggedy
Mm-hmm.
daycare. So
Mm-hmm.
Way to bring it back.
stay I gotta bring it back. I gotta stay connected here. And I think disciplines are important, and we use disciplines for all of the things, right? So we have the calendar, we have the apps, and we have the rudimentary methods. Like, we use the disciplines for all these other things, but we don't think about using that discipline for spiritual practice and for nourishing practices. And I think we need to bring that back. So if you need to write it on the calendar, be like, okay, like, I have it at 3:00 or 2:45. I'm going to pray.
And
I'm just going to stop, pump the brakes, and I'm going to pray. Why did I pick that time? Because my kids are getting close to arriving from school. And I need some prayer reset before they walk through those doors, right? Does it take long? No, it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. But just a few minutes for me to pause, connect with my Creator, and be like, all right, am I all right? But it's taking practice. Do I do it every day? No, but it's on my calendar and it gives me that reminder. So most days I do it. How do you start your day? Do you start it with like all the stresses of life? Or like Stacey was saying, do you spend time with you? Or you spend time with your spirit, with your body, before you get all the demands? The demands are always going to be there. But I think when you do that, it starts slowly shifting your psyche, your body, your mindset to a healthier place. And your lens starts changing. So and as you go through the day, you're able to make decisions just a little bit differently. You're able to pause a little bit more and honor yourself a little bit more often. And therefore serve better. So that's my 2 cents.
No, I'm right
that
there.
was
I
a
think there's so
whole
many.
quarter, Jay.
You said what?
That was a whole quarter. I think she brought it home. I
think she did. I don't think there's anything else to add to that. I think she absolutely did.
That was a whole quarter.
It was a whole quarter. Well, on that whole quarter note, we're going to wrap up our conversation. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to Cycles of Radiance. We pray that the conversation helps you and triggers, some questions and some thoughts, but most importantly, some pause so you can actually nourish yourself in all the important ways. Stacey, Dana, always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Always. Be well.
Be well.
Be well.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Our desire is to empower, support, and elevate you on this collective journey towards a fulfilled life. We invite you to connect and find community with us on Instagram as Cycles of Radiance.